Public duties abroad. She launched the new aircraft carrier Eagle, built in Northern Ireland. In another great ship which you... Public duties abroad. She launched the new aircraft carrier Eagle, built in Northern Ireland. In another great ship which you... Public duties abroad. She launched the new aircraft carrier Eagle, built in Northern Ireland. In another great ship which you... Public duties abroad. She launched the new aircraft carrier Eagle, built in Northern Ireland. In another great ship which you... Public duties abroad. She launched the new aircraft carrier Eagle, built in Northern Ireland. In another great ship which you...
that she's having treatment, or that indeed they are unable to help Her Majesty anymore. A few moments ago, Buckingham Palace announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. The Palace has just issued this statement. It says the Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon. The King and the Queen Consort will remain at Balmoral this evening and will return to London tomorrow. Within the past few minutes, Buckingham Palace has announced the death of Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth II. To recap on the statement, the Queen died peacefully at Balmoral this afternoon. The King, that is Charles, and the Queen Consort will remain at Balmoral this evening and will return to London tomorrow.
Goodbye, Elizabeth.
Public duties of royalty. She launched the
Just the other day, I went with my family, my children, who are the great-grandchildren.
In another great ship which she...
Of Holocaust survivors to see Anne Frank's house. And my children came to me, they were ahead of us in the tour, and they said that in the secret annex ahead, amongst the images on the walls, were photos of Her Majesty the Queen, Princess Elizabeth, and her sister Princess Margaret. And I later researched with my daughters, why was that? And Otto Frank, their father, is recorded later in life in saying, Anne Frank loved the royals, but it wasn't just that. He wanted to put some photos on the wall that would give the children strength. And Anne Frank said it was also the beautiful smile that kept her going. May she rest in peace. and God save the King.
Valerie Vance.
Madam Deputy Speaker, and it's a pleasure to follow the Honourable Member for the loyal constituency of Newark. Madam Deputy Speaker, it falls to our generation to tell of the passing of our gracious sovereign, of the passing of a platinum Elizabethan age, of a young woman with responsibility thrust on her, but without a manual. She wrote her own story, and in doing so, wrote the story of our nation through which we've all lived. We have known her as a young woman who actively supported the war effort and danced in the street when it was over, jumping out of planes, showing us her sense of humour at the Olympic ceremony in 2012 that showed us we were more than just medals. I was in Walsall yesterday when I heard the sad news of Queen Elizabeth's passing. I know my constituents in Walsall South are grieving. The owner of Fortune Cookie, our local Chinese takeaway, was in tears. And again, like every other member, every school I've ever visited, the question is always asked, have you met the Queen? And Lorna, based in Walsall South, makes her handbags. I hope that link will continue, especially now that we know, thanks to a refugee from Peru, she used to keep her marmalade sandwiches to keep her going. As a lawyer, all I ever knew was a Queen's Bench Division or Queen's Counsel. That, like our stamps and notes, will change to herald a new era. Having been born in Aden to go in parents, I had never imagined I would meet Queen Elizabeth. But I did, in the gallery in the other place, the British Museum, or at the Privy Council. Those who've had an audience with her can testify to her wisdom and generosity of spirit. She had the ability to speak with you as though she'd known you forever, whether to a winning jockey or a little girl with a posy, or working to the end to welcome her 15th Prime Minister. Like all of us, she knew life is a roller coaster, but she never complained, and only ever mentioned 1 year as an annus horribilis. Our Queen carried out her duties with dignity, grace, and love for us and her country, and yet embraced different countries and cultures through the Commonwealth, while always respecting differences and dealing with changes, acknowledging past mistakes, knowing that life and history moves on. Queen Elizabeth reminded us that we are human beings first and members of a race second, and our duty is to help each other make this world a better place and live in peace, just as she said in her first broadcast. And how we will miss those quiet, reassuring messages to the nation at Christmas and at difficult times. Duty, service, defender of the faith, and love for her United Kingdom, a constant that brought us all together. The bright full moon shone down last night, and there was a rainbow over Windsor Castle, and it reminded us of God's promise to his faithful. We pray for her grieving family to get through this difficult time, and especially for King Charles III. Eternal rest grant unto Queen Elizabeth Alexandra Mary Windsor. May she rest in peace.
Tobias Elwood.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. These are indeed the saddest of times for us to gather here today to pay tribute to the late Majesty the Queen. I suspect that we all will remember where we were yesterday when news came that doctors were gravely concerned about Her Majesty's health. Our world was suddenly put on hold, and then came the announcement that we had dreaded to hear. Our rock of stability, the one person who came to symbolise the very best of Britain, was no longer with us. Her Majesty's sense of duty to serve was especially appreciated by our armed forces. That phrase, for Queen and country, is not just a catchphrase, it's the allegiance you pledge when you join Her Majesty's armed forces. The Queen was our Commander-in-Chief, and she was only too aware, having served herself, of the sacrifices personnel were willing to make, all done in her name. This emptiness that we now feel is a testament to the admiration, the respect, and the affection that we all had for her. We have not known a Britain, indeed, without her. Perhaps we can consider ourselves fortunate that the nation was able to come together this year to mark the Queen's Platinum Jubilee and celebrate with her a most incredible life of service. from the street parties across the country, including in my constituency in Bournemouth East, to that wonderful celebration outside Buckingham Palace where the Queen and Paddington Bear stole the show. Only on one occasion did I have cause to formally write to Her Majesty, and that was to ask her if she would agree to Parliament's clock tower to be renamed the Elizabeth Tower, to mark the Diamond Jubilee 10 years ago. I was truly honoured when she accepted. That name was really honoured when she accepted. That name was formally changed, and we now have a constant parliamentary landmark honouring Her Majesty. As we now mourn the person